to the Retrograde video game podcast, where this week, after a very long break, we come back to tell you about all the stuff we've been up to.
Yeah, we'll show a slideshow of our favorite vacations. My name's Andrew Baskin. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Mikey Warenworth, right here. Where have I been?
So what have you guys been up to? And then we'll just leave a 2-minute blank space, nodding. Oh, you're crazy.
We would get so many emails being like, finally you asked. And we would
doing great.
The parasocial relationship has finally opened up the floor for them to talk a little bit.
As I said in my last email, I'm like, oh boy.
Andrew, it feels good to be back.
It's good to be back.
And it feels good to be bad, baby. I got arrested since we've been gone.
Really?
Yeah,
living up to your name.
I did. I served a life sentence.
Oh, wow.
But I killed myself, came back to life. And I was like, technicality.
Yeah. Can't arrest me twice. This is a double jeopardy situation.
Double jeopardy. I've seen the Tommy Lee Jones movie. I know how this works.
Exactly. I think it was a National Judd movie, but that's fine. Misogyny. So Mikey, it has been a couple months.
About that, yeah.
Since we've last recorded, since we said goodbye to the Retrograde. We just started itching. We couldn't stay away.
We had to do it.
And
we're here to say we're back for good.
Whoa. Let's not make promises. We are still working on other stuff, which you will hear us probably in a weekly manner.
Yeah.
But yeah, that until then, we wanted to record. Actually, we almost did this a couple weeks ago, but schedules got in the way and stuff like that. So we're hoping to do this a little bit more. No promises on how often, but we're really excited to be back.
Yeah, very excited to be back. I've played a lot of games. I've watched a lot of movies.
Oh,
I've watched
interesting.
some TV. I've even read some books, Andrew.
Whoa.
I'm a smart man now.
Wow.
I have too much time on my hands.
Yeah.
Life just made way for me to just kind of sit and stare at walls and stuff, and I found that boring, so I started to read books.
Yeah, people don't know, this 90-minute podcast we put out, give or take.
And boy, do we put out.
It takes us 15 hours.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So a lot of time opened up.
And I think we should just be honest with the listeners now. We're kind of just going to be talking about everything. This is kind of just a general catch up. We're going to be talking some movies. We're going to be talking some games. We're going to be talking some. But let's start maybe. Can I start with a little game?
Sure.
That little game. Let me start with a little game.
Oh, that's okay. A little different than we usually do. Yeah, that's good.
So one of the biggest, most consistent comments that we got when we announced when we were ending the podcast is that it was a week before Retrograde. So if you're new to this podcast, which what an episode to start with.
Wow.
What an episode to start with. If you're new to this podcast, we every year do Retrograde and sometimes February, where we play nothing but scary games. And Andrew and I are not great with scary games.
No, we're not.
They scare us. Go figure.
Yeah.
But sometimes, just like putting a bit too much hot sauce on that burrito, I get a little hankering for some heat. And in this case, the metaphor for heat
is scary.
Is scares.
Oh, okay. I'm scared of how hot it is.
So I had a hankering for some heat, and I figured it's the Halloween season. I want to play something scary.
That's like if I try to get Tom Hanks angry, I'm like, I'm hankering for some heat. Do you think a director's ever said that to him?
Wait.
I'm hankering.
Because of Tom
Hanks. He's like on set and he's like, Tom, I need more. I'm hankering for some heat.
And then do you think he signs off like Tom Hanks signs off on all this? Hanks. Hanx.
I love it.
And full circle. I mean, did he know?
Oh,
it was going to be called X eventually?
The Everything app?
The Everything app.
Yeah.
You can do everything on it.
Yeah. I don't know if we're allowed to make fun of him. He's a government official now.
That's true. Yeah. I love their whole thing is like, let's get into politics. I love that their whole thing
Trump's been elected since we've been gone.
That's true. Thank God.
45 and 47, baby.
Their whole thing was, the left government is like, they're becoming, all powerful and censorship and all this stuff. And now they're just putting all of their friends in government, and it feels like they're insulating themselves from any type of criticism.
This was a thing from the first. Wow, we're really just talking about
this. This is a thing
from the first term.
The abortion stuff I'm on board with.
Oh, yeah, please. Yeah. That's why I tried voting like 6 times. I'm not even American. Is it like... This is a thing from the first term with Trump is that they're like, comedy's kind of dead because like you can't make some of the stuff up that they're doing. This appointment of cabinet stuff
amazing.
Is like, if you came up with jokes, these are the jokes that you'd come up with. Linda McMahon, that being the Secretary of Education, Dr. Mehmet Oz.
Yes.
It's just like he's going through a Rolodex of people he knows. Like, well,
I saw him once on a TV screen.
Yeah, it says doctor in the Rolodex. So like
she got tombstoned once.
Yeah, by the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee.
It's absurd. The Onion is dead.
Yeah.
And people are showing me articles, and I don't know which ones are real and which ones are fake. It's kind of crazy.
Only good news is the Onion bought InfoWars, which is Alex Jones's website. Because
Really?
he got sued so badly for like billions of dollars by the Sandy Hook parents, which
Right.
that's justice, I guess. And he had to sell off InfoWars, and the Onion bought it.
That's so good.
And the CEO, which I've never heard his name before, but it was so funny. It just goes, we had the opportunity to do this, and we had the highest bid, and so we got it, and we were able to do the funniest thing possible.
That should be the Onion just like laying down their hat.
Yeah.
Is that what you do when you retire?
You lay down your hat.
Lay down your hat.
I guess you're a cowboy in this situation or something. Yeah.
So I had a hankering for heat, and
right.
I had a hankering for heat, and I figured, what's a scary game that I could play right now? And everyone was talking about what's in the zeitgeist. It was Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
The remake.
Yeah.
I played it. I beat it.
You beat it.
I will say it's the least I've enjoyed a really good game. And I do think it's a really good game.
Okay.
But playing it is not good. The controls are bad.
Yeah.
The way they do jump scares are frustrating.
Yeah.
The enemy types, while well designed, the variation among the enemies is like surprisingly limited.
Oh, okay.
They tried to, pay homage to the original Silent Hill 2 by everything is very dark and very foggy and you can barely see. And I think the reason that was done in the past was to hide some of the poor textures on the PS2 when it came out and try to make it so that it was a little bit, some of the rougher edges were kind of hidden.
Yeah.
But now we're on the PS5 and I feel like I spent the whole game walking around only being able to see 3 or 4 feet in front of my face. And that's just like a frustrating feeling.
Yeah.
But the story of Silent Hill 2 is actually incredible. It's really good. It's one of the few times where I finished a game and almost immediately took to YouTube for like speculation.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I wanted to see what all the endings were.
Right.
And all the videos on YouTube would bring up things like the psychology of Carl Jung as pertains to this and that.
Yeah.
I know that seems like a base level, like an undergraduate's essay on
yes.
but the extent to which some of the like common symbols in psychology are applied to Silent Hill and the use of colors and theming tells a story that's going on beneath the surface, which is like way cooler than I would have expected. So while I really didn't enjoy the minute to minute playing the game, I really did enjoy the story itself. And I will say this is one of the few games I've ever played where I put the combat difficulty down as low as it can go. Cause I'm like, I don't want to die in this game.
No.
All I'm in this for is the experience of the story.
Yeah.
So I don't want to die because someone jumped out a corner and I got so scared that I dropped my controller. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. That sounds exactly like my description of Alan Wake 2. But yeah.
No, exactly like that.
Yeah.
Like very, very similar and similar exploration mechanics where you're just arbitrarily looking in corners that don't really matter for like a small photograph because it's going to be part of a larger puzzle that doesn't really pertain to the main story. But those are the kinds of elements of a game that are just so gamey that they really take me out of it. And I know I'm alone in that or I'm the minority in that, which feels great in Trump's America, by the way, being the minority of anything.
Yeah.
So
that's why you're in Canada now.
That's why
you got deported.
I had to get deported.
Yeah,
it was great.
bad.
So this is all to say that like I know people really love it. I think it's a finely crafted game.
Sure.
I don't think it's as polished and as like I think it's a very janky game. So people who are saying it's a masterpiece, I'm like, I don't know. I think the original is a masterpiece and this one is just a better way to play it nowadays. But yeah, if you played it and you liked it, let me know. I thought it was an incredible story packed in a somewhat inscrutable gameplay package.
Huh. Okay. That's interesting. And you've been playing some Switch games too, right? Didn't you play the new Zelda game?
I was playing Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah.
That's one I can't remember how much I talked about it before we wouldn't have talked about it because I started playing it while we were away, which was right after we recorded. That it's an interesting one. I thought I was going to like it more than most of the recent Zelda games, to be honest. When I first started playing, if you're not familiar with Echoes of Wisdom, I'm sure you've heard some people talk about it or even played it yourself now, but you use the ability to summon objects that you've come across in the wild to solve puzzles, whether it's like a platforming puzzle or a combat mechanic. It's almost like you're playing playing Zelda as like a necromancer from Diablo, where you're like summoning enemies to attack other enemies, which in the beginning is a very cool idea and in premise sounds really cool, but in practice ends up getting a little bit stale. It's like there's only so many pathways up or like ladders that I can create out of beds and boxes before I'm just like, okay, I've solved this puzzle a few times already. So I didn't finish it. I might go back to it. But instead right now I'm playing the Case of the Golden Idol sequel came out. Like kind of low key, just released, so much so that I had to search for it on the Steam store and it wouldn't show up unless I explicitly mentioned like plays incompatible with the Steam Deck because they hadn't tested it yet. Yeah. And everything I've said about Case of the Golden Idol, which was my favorite game of a couple years ago, my game of the year. It borrows from a lot of the same mechanics, but the DLC from Case of the Golden Idol was just a little bit too convoluted for the original storyline. I don't have my Steam Deck here, but if I did, I would give you an example of like the type of story that you have to, or the type of problem you have to solve. Case of the Golden Idol, just a brief understanding. There are a bunch of tableaus that you see. There's usually a murder or someone dying. You click through the tableau to see a bunch of different scenes and objects. And as you explore, you get some context for what has happened. And then you get words that you pick up through the text of the items that you're reading. And you have to use those words to solve the puzzle of what happened in this scene. So if there's like someone who got stabbed, it's like, why did they get stabbed and who stabbed who and where did they go and these sorts of things. And in the first one, it's the perfect balance of like very interesting storytelling. One of the coolest stories I've experienced in a game, and giving you enough that you don't ever feel overwhelmed. You always feel like you're just on the verge of a big discovery. This is like a Mad Lib where the only words in it are prepositions like the and everything else is filled in. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're trying to ask me right now, which is a little frustrating, but I'm still going to play it. I'm still going to finish it. I'm probably like 80% of the way through. And those are kind of the games that I've been checking out.
Those are the games.
And those are the games
I've been playing. Well, it's been good talking to everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you in 2025.
I'm surprised during this time we didn't play anything that like crosses, like you and I play the same thing.
No, not at all.
What have you been up to?
So since I had to look at the date that the last episode came out. I finished Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, great.
That's how old it's been. That's a game. It's so funny where I was going through my PlayStation 5 and going like, oh, so game. Oh, right. Yeah. That's a game that I was like, hey, that's totally fun and totally fun to play and totally fine. And then it ends and I have probably not thought about it
immediately. Forget about it.
Just escaped my brain completely.
It's funny because when that game first came out, people were like, this game sucks. And then there was the counter. I mean, this is just what happens on the internet, but the counter of people being like, no, it's a masterpiece.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, it definitely falls somewhere in the middle. Everyone just wants to be heard in some specific way.
I feel like this is a big, so right now we're kind of dating this, but right now in Toronto, Taylor Swift is playing 2 weeks of concerts.
Yeah.
And it's kind of taken over the city in a large part. Like there's so many bars and restaurants doing Taylor Swift menus and like they've renamed street signs and stuff.
Which finally, we've been asking for it for a while now.
You don't have to ask for the secret menu anymore. It's now out in the open. But I'll say is that really funny is
my favorite is Kelsey Court.
Yeah, what's that now? Sorry?
Kelsey Court.
Yeah, like Travis Kelce?
Yeah. They gave him one street and it's just kind of backed out into a trash dump somewhere.
Yeah.
They're like, this will be Kelsey Court.
It's one that's not going to age well. Yes. It's funny. We have a restaurant named Kelsey's in Toronto or in Canada, I guess. Maybe Ontario. And I'm surprised they didn't we're going to change the name for the week.
Honestly,
like,
yeah.
It's been a lot of that, but it's so funny where she's the biggest pop star in the world, maybe the most famous person in the world. And yet there is, and I have almost no opinion on her whatsoever. I'm like, the music is very mediocre. I don't really understand the religion that is based on her.
Same.
But at the same time, I do not understand that people are like, you know what? I hate her. And you're like, based on what? And you're like, oh, I hate her so much. And this is kind of what you're talking about. It's like the second anything gets popular, people go, well, that thing sucks and I hate it. And you're okay, well, what are you going to do? And it did feel like that, even though I was like, I never understood the praise or the complaints one way or another too much. I felt like this was the most
of Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah, of Star Wars Outlaws.
We're not still talking about Taylor
I'm talking
Swift.
Travis Kelce, but is that, I just never really understood it. I thought it was a totally enjoyable game. That was a lot of fun. You get to jump into the Star Wars universe in a different way that had been presented previously.
A way that seemed really cool from the outset. Yeah.
Yeah. And something that I've always asked for more of. Yeah. Like, give me less of like the things that we know and more of like the many other adventures and stories that are probably happening in the universe.
Well, you and I had a bet. I said, I guarantee you by the end, Darth Vader's showing up at some point. Was I right or was I wrong?
You were correct. This is not, the game is months old, whatever. I'm going to try not to spoil it. Darth Vader
spoiler for 20 seconds ago.
Yeah, Darth Vader doesn't show up at the end. It's not like the end boss or something like that. But he shows up in a cutaway scene. And it's literally all cinematic where you're meeting all these bosses that are working in the Empire in some capacity. And they're hunting for you or coming after you. And you're constantly stealing from Empire bases and stuff.
Were there any undercover bosses?
No. But I think John Taffer was there shutting down bars. Okay. And he was screaming a lot.
This cantina! You just got people getting shot all over the place.
Their margins are terrible. You're over-serving. A blue guy with black eyes like, what? Like,
who even listens to jizz anymore?
There's too much jizz being played all the time. Put televisions everywhere.
For the two people who still don't know, the style of music that's played in the cantina canonically is called jizz.
That's jizz. That's what they say. That's how the song ends too.
Yes.
That's jizz. So yeah, I love that universe so much, but the one cutscene is like, he talks to his boss and it's Darth Vader and he's like, yeah, don't disappoint me. And then it goes away and I'm like, oh, that was just so not needed. Like,
you didn't like it.
No,
I was going to say that seems like the kind of thing that I would be okay with.
It was so non-consequential that you're almost like, then why do it?
Yeah,
like,
true,
you know, you almost want him to like, if he showed up and killed the guy that's been hunting you the whole game or something like that, and then it switches the whole game around, that'd be one thing.
That would be cool.
But it just had no consequence in there, and I saw it, and I immediately took a picture of the screen, and I sent it to Mikey. I'm like, well, I think I owe you dinner.
Okay, so us pretending like I didn't know in that little bit in the outset. Now they know that I knew.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
We can peel the curtain now.
Because we should maybe start editing these things, maybe.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
But yeah, so the game was totally fine. The end, I thought, was it's a big mission and, you know, kind of involves every element of the game. I thought it was totally fine.
Yeah.
There is so much more that I can do inside of the different planets that you go to, like more missions that are left and whatever. I just haven't done it. I finished the main story.
Yeah, that's what happens to me in those games. That I finish and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back and do everything. But without that central drive, I just never feel like it's worth doing.
I wonder if I started again, I'd be like, oh, right. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just didn't find the traversal a lot of fun. And that's just a big part of the game.
In an open world, that's massive.
I feel like this is more of your opinion, but I'm with you on this one. Whereas like riding a horse in Red Dead, I'm not opening up this can of worms. Was fun for me. Yeah. Driving a car in Grand Theft Auto is totally fine with me.
I do love driving cars.
The speeder bike, I just never felt like it
really
responded the way I wanted it to. So,
and also like how much this is not a facetious question. I actually don't know the answer, but like how much is there to drive around? Like driving on a speeder in the middle of some like just open terrain.
Yeah.
How fun can that be?
I agree with you. It's just, there's parts of it that don't really make any sense. Like driving over a road seems to go faster than driving over grass.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm constantly like, oh, it's a big jump, but like you crash and you're like, so what are the rules of this? I don't really understand. Like, you know, I don't really feel like you're going fast or it responds or whatever. I wasn't a huge part of that. And so like going back to, and that being a huge element of it slows you down a little bit. I wonder if I went back and I played it. But other game I've been playing, especially with lots of other people, is Mario Party 8. Oh. Or Mario Party, what is it called? Is it 8?
I think it's 8.
Yeah.
Oh man, I should get in on that.
Yeah, you should.
No, just send me an invite.
Yeah, no, I will.
Yeah, no, that's good. You brought your Switch in. It's just open it up quick. Andrew,
I think it's dead.
No, it's okay. I'll edit it. Just charge it. Oh, you know what? Here, I got the charge right there. If you just plug it in, if you just plug it in, then it'll be charged. And then because you'll see, because I sent you a bunch of invites that I think you probably missed.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Well, no, I get it.
It takes time to go through this.
No, I know because you're probably popular and you get a lot of those.
I don't know what the right answer to that question is. If I say yeah, then it sounds arrogant. If I say no, I'm being like, I'm lying.
Yeah. Oh, you are lying.
Yeah.
So you are very popular.
I didn't say that. That's your words.
Those are my words. And I will tell our listener that Andrew's a very busy man, and that's probably why he hasn't responded to my friend request yet. But just accept it.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely. I'll get to
Andrew.
it.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew. If you accept it, I'll give you every star I ever get.
Really?
I'll give you every star.
That feels like insider trade. Like, I don't know. That's like setting up the game to fail.
We don't have to tell Miyamoto about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He watches over.
He's like an Ozymandias from The Watchmen, just watching every game of
Watch the Watcher
Party
is Miyamoto's huge head, just like looking over everything. Yeah.
I was playing Mario Party, the N64 one through the virtual console, or Nintendo Switch Online months ago with my
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you didn't get my invite?
Yeah, no,
I tried to send it through Nintendo Switch Online, but you hadn't accepted my friend request.
Yeah, that probably is the issue.
No, it was with my sister, her husband, and my girlfriend, and we were playing, and I was winning. Obviously,
thanks for letting us know.
The competition was not great.
Yeah.
No, it was okay. It was going well. I mean, so much of Mario Party is random anyway.
Well, okay, and I'll get to that in a second. Yes.
So, I did interrupt you and hijack the story.
That's okay.
But that's what this podcast is all about. That's what the people
hijacking. Yeah.
No, me hijacking your stories. So we're playing and I'm winning, and it's clear that I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
That's
that's the end of the story?
No,
and then you won.
And then I won.
No, wouldn't that be great? Yeah, it's clear I was going to win and I won.
What were you
talking about?
There was a strategic move that I got to steal a star from someone. And there was a strategic move where the move that made sense, the most sense,
to steal from a girlfriend.
was stealing from my girlfriend.
Yes, 100%.
And she looked at me like it was game on.
Yeah.
But if I did it, game off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she so sincerely, she's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, it's part of the game. And she's like, Mikey, if you do that, I'll legitimately be mad at you outside of the game. And I'm like, this is something I've never dealt with before. I had to
talking to a girl.
Talking to a girl.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of them talk back to me,
which I am not a fan of.
I'm not a fan. They should know their place. They should. They should.
That's where you boot up Overcooked, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. Do some training on Cooking Mama. But it was this moment where
it's good to be back, guys.
I looked at him just like, all right, Coley, I'm going to see a Coley's my sister. I'm like, I guess I'm stealing your star. And I still won. So it's like not a big deal. But yeah.
But I agree with you because this is a very classic. So I play with my player one as well.
Yeah.
And then you can play against AI and stuff. And just like Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible movie, he's against the AI.
Oh, is he in the first one?
Well, no, in the last one, Dead Reckoning.
Oh, okay.
The enemy is AI.
Alan Iverson?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
The answer? Yeah.
I was just talking about practice.
Yeah. He steps over Tom Cruise. It's the same thing where like, I'll look at my player one and I'm just like, I should probably go after the second place person, which is of course my player one. But I think I'm going to go after against Wario because that's just probably better. He's like, wow, what? Are you out of your mind? But I'm just getting a dead eye, like just staring. I can feel it burning into the side of my head.
It's Mario Party is like Monopoly, where it is for some reason it doesn't matter, but it matters more than anything else at that moment.
Absolutely. So there is a version called Pro. I think it's called Pro mode or something like that. And it takes away. Yeah, I know.
So you can go pro in Mario Party.
Yeah.
I'm still on the amateur level.
What an obnoxious amount of people that would be. A group of people that would be. You could take away a lot of this like luck-based stuff.
Yeah.
Or the awards at the end that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
And you don't know which awards you're vying for, so you can't even they take away a lot of that, which is good. The only downside is it's just such a ruthless game. Okay, so the other one is you're playing with the the handles on the side of the Switch, right?
Oh, the Joy-Cons.
Joy-Cons. Because they have motion that they track, right?
Oh,
and so
so you have to play with the Joy-Con?
You have to play with the Joy-Con. Or
a Pro Controller? Do you have a Pro Controller or no?
I don't have a Pro Controller. I'm not pro. I'm amateur.
Right,
but yeah,
amateur, right.
But so some of them, before each one, they go like, this one's horizontal or this one's vertical or whatever. And you're like, okay, cool. One of them is you are digging through a tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one to dig through the tunnel at the end wins, and then second, third, fourth. The motion is...
It's the El Chapo simulator.
Yes, 100%. His topical reference, El Chapo. You describe the motion I'm about to do. If you're watching on the video, you'll see it, okay? So the controller is like this, and you're supposed to dig, right?
Oh, Andrew,
so you just do this as fast as humanly possible.
So it looks like Andrew's jacking off.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how good I am at that mini game. I kick the shit out of everybody, and like my player one could not get the words out fast enough. Like, well, you've had a whole life to practice about that. And I'm like, no, I know, whatever. 10 seconds faster than her.
But I'm also better than everyone else who's had a lifetime of practice too.
Yeah, well then you get to have that fun thing too of like, I'm so good at it. Why aren't you better at it?
You want me to teach you? Because I think you could use.
Yeah.
Well, then you can do the one where there's like, because there's the one where you have to waggle the joystick back and forth, and you can be like, well, you've been flicking your bean all life. Why aren't you better at that one?
Yeah, there's one where a searchlight and you're trying to find the clitoris or something like
that.
Yeah.
And you use your tongue in that one.
Yeah, I do. Yes.
It's really unsettling.
You know, like in the Matrix, those what are they called? Whatever the balls with the
Morpheus?
No, yeah. Sorry, I meant Tank. Yeah, my bad.
Oh, Dozer's brother. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. Fucking Cypher just couldn't.
Joey Pants.
Yeah, Joey Pantalones. That's Joey Pants.
Is Cypher, right?
I
forget
that.
their names. Yeah, Joey Pants is in one of them.
I've heard the name Joey Pants a lot. I
Joey
didn't know
Pantoliano?
that's who it was.
He's in The Sopranos. He's in everything. He's in Bad Boys. He's in lots of stuff.
Yeah, Sopranos. Ralph.
Yeah, Ralphie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we played a lot of that, and then the last one is I bought and downloaded Call of Duty.
Oh wow!
I know. I can't.
I don't know if in this entire time of having this podcast, if you've done that before.
I haven't, and I think I was just bored. Like I wanted more of like obviously I've been
from
playing
life or just
yeah, sure, yeah, just looking for an escape, just a vision where I could just shoot people. I guess I don't know. Obviously I've been playing Fortnite, but I didn't even need to.
Have you heard of America?
Yeah. Oh, I'm surprised you haven't played Fortnite because Eminem's in it. Hey, what?
Why didn't you tell me earlier?
Snoop Dogg has one
Mathers.
side. Eminem has another one, and then you visit them and shoot them, and then when you kill them, they join your team.
Wait, but he's been in Fortnite for a while, hasn't he? As a skin, at least?
He has, and I forget why, but this one is much more involved where he is like, he has a lair, and it's like a Mom Spaghetti's like factory, and it's so his henchmen and stuff like that, and then you go and you break in, and if you knock him out, he joins you as like as a.
Can I be honest? Yeah. I still don't get what Fortnite is.
I heard myself describe it, and it sounds insane. So
every time I think I understand, you tell me you got to break into a spaghetti factory, and I'm like, I don't understand.
An old one, yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, so you have to eliminate all the other 100 players.
Okay.
But also, there's all these locations on the map where you can do interactive things sometimes.
Okay.
And one of them is Eminem's Spaghetti Factory.
Great.
Snoop Dogg's Mansion is another one. And they have henchmen and stuff like that. And in those places, there are like good weapons and gold and things like that you can steal. So it's like adding a layer of difficulty if you're not just playing for the win, you're just playing. And there you go.
That's cool. Like there's a single player element that is incorporated with the battle royale.
Yeah,
itself.
it's giving you more choice in what to do other than like, and it's the same reason why they give you like objectives, like daily objectives. Same with Call of Duty, really, where it's like get 10 headshots today, and you're like, on top of trying to win, I might also try and do headshot, kind of thing. So, Call of Duty seems to be a baffling thing to me. It's not that I don't understand the appeal. I also it is the game that makes me most aware that I'm getting worse at video games. Yeah. Like
people who play that game are incredible with like the Twitch mechanics, which is just
and
wild.
It's cross-platform, so it's a lot of computers, and you just got to imagine that is just an easier way to shoot people.
100%,
but yeah, so that is when I need to play something for 12 minutes and don't want to think about anything. Like I'll play 2 games of that, and I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm terrible at this, and I leave.
Well, what about booting up Overwatch and playing some of the original 6v6? Have you heard that they're doing that?
No, are they?
They are. So they brought back 6v6. It unfortunately was at a time when I was away, so they went back to the original Overwatch. Like original people, original capabilities that they had. So like Reaper with the orbs that he'd have to collect when he killed someone. 6v6. And they're doing it as just like a limited event sort of thing. And I wonder if it's what are you laughing at?
Well, I'm just laughing. It's like things are going well. Do you like this?
Yeah.
Do you like this?
But to be fair, people can say that to make fun of Blizzard, or at least they're fucking finally they're testing it at least. If it goes really well, maybe it'll be a more permanent thing in there. I don't know for sure. It's right at the same time as the release of the Marvel 6v6 game. What is that one called?
Oh yeah, I forget.
I forget.
Yes,
I vaguely interested. It's on the sidelines for me. That like I'll see maybe it'll be good. But the 6v6 thing, I'm very much considering going back and giving it a shot. The problem is it's 3 weeks, and every week is like a different snapshot of time,
right?
For which the 6v6 was around. But that's something that made me almost hopeful for Overwatch. But I see all the streamers and they're like, this sucks. And I'm like, yeah, probably. I think there's a lot of really good balance changes that happened since then. Yeah.
No, I know. This was this was also while we were gone too, but Fortnite did the same thing. They went back to the original island. We talked about that on the podcast. But then after that, they went, and so I never played at the first island, right? Yeah. But every 8 months or whatever it is, there seems to be a new island, new version, whatever. They have now raced it ahead to the island I first played with as the first time I ever played.
Dr. Moreau?
Yeah. There's weird half-human hybrids walking around. Yeah. A lepropotamus.
Of course, that's a given.
Possumosaurus, is that I had genuine nostalgia of like, so there's this.
Yeah.
And then there's that. But you then do eventually the same thing where you go, and then this isn't as good as the modern game. And I think that would be your fear. Would you ever want to play the Overwatch?
I want to play 6v6. I would like it as like a museum snapshot. I think it would be really cool if Blizzard kept like year one, like the best time of year one, the best time of year two, the best time of year three. You could kind of play in those like servers that hosted like, what was it like in year one? What was it like in year two? Yeah. I'm interested in the idea of it, but I'm kind of the same way. Like it would be cool for the nostalgia factor, but I remember at those times being like, this game is unbalanced, and then they fixed it, and now I'm like, I want to go back to it. Like, I don't know. I don't think that's what I'm there for.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's like a relationship that was broken, but you're like nostalgic for elements, and you're like, right, I forgot about the whole issue was.
Right. We hated each other.
Yeah. We fought constantly.
I think an old friend of ours actually would have something to say about the concept of going back to something that we think is what we want, and it turns out it's not. I think he actually wrote a poem about it.
Is it Bobby Winter?
It's actually Terrence Winter.
Terrence Winter, the creator of Hell or High Water.
You know the movie.
Bobby Frost, our boy,
Bobby Frost. You can never go home again.
Never go home again. Ring that bell. We brought up horses. We brought up Bobby Frost.
We did. We're not doing the drop though. We did the last drop in the last episode.
That's Trump for a long time.
Very long time. Let's talk about some other stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Is that it for games?
Oh yeah, that's it for games for me. But yeah, lots on right now, movies wise too.
Movies wise, catch us up on 2 or 3 of the best movies you've seen in the last little bit.
I've seen Anora.
I'm going to see that this weekend.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
I really liked it. It is, for being the front runner for Best Picture right now, which is odd and will change, whatever. So we got months and months and months. Conan O'Brien's the host of the Oscars. That's fun.
Great.
Yeah, I know. It's got its death grip from Jimmy Kimmel away from there. But yeah, it's really great. And it is a different movie that is the favorite for Best Picture for so many reasons. It is genuinely funny at times, which is so weird. It's genuinely dark and incredibly sexual. And it's like these things where you're like, that's not the movie they usually give this to. They usually give it to Green Book. So that was
also
good.
Intensely sexual.
Oh my God. Well, anytime Viggo's on screen though.
And very funny.
The racism is very funny. Very funny, yeah. How about this? I saw Juror Number 2, which is Clint Eastwood's new movie that they are trying not to put out. Like,
yeah, what is?
I went to the one theater in Toronto, and the manager there, I go there often, and so he knows me. And I'm like, he's like, oh, you seen Juror Number 2? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, we're the only theater in Canada playing it.
What?
And he said it with pride, and I was like, oh God.
So what is? You saw it? What is the reason for that?
So it's nothing about the actual content of the movie. Yeah, like you imagine, it's like eviscerating political drama. Like, whoa,
it's just the main character talking to an empty chair the whole time.
It's halftime in America. It's a very functional drama that is actually really good, and it's like parent core through and through. Like the second it hits Amazon
like a John
Prime
Grisham novel or something.
Yes, you're gonna be like, hey, mom, dad, you gotta watch this. You're gonna love it.
Once you finish Jack Reacher season 6.
Exactly. Yeah. Once you're done Yellowstone, you're all on this.
Yeah.
And I will say the short like byline for this movie is a really catchy one, and it makes you gonna want to do it. So this is essentially it. A guy with a very pregnant wife gets called for jury duty.
Very pregnant wife.
It's important. It's actually important.
Okay.
Very pregnant wife, because there's like a time, there's a ticking clock. Gets called for jury duty, and on the first day of the jury duty, he realizes he might be the one that committed the crime.
Well, that's a great byline.
Isn't that great?
Holy fuck.
I know.
It's not often that you hear a concept for a story and you're like, never heard that concept before. That's great.
I know. It was enough that you're like, oh, wait. And it's Toni Collette and Nicholas Hoult and like all these people, Kiefer Sutherland, like coming off the top rope. So it was really good. And I actually would watch it the second it gets to streaming, because you can't see it in the theater. So that one was really good as well. What else do you want to talk about? Saturday Night.
Oh, that's a movie built for you.
It is literally escapes my brain.
Yeah.
They even have Muppets in it, for Christ's sakes. Like it is.
They do?
Yeah, because Jim Henson was on the first season of Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And they were Saturday Night, and they didn't like Jim Henson, it turns out. But I've read all these books. I've read the oral histories. I know a lot about Saturday Night Live. And so it is a movie that is completely built for me.
Yeah.
And so I loved it.
Yeah.
Is it a good movie? Probably not. But that doesn't matter to me.
Well, the movie doesn't come out when it's finished, Andrew.
Would you be surprised if the movie opens to that quote?
The show doesn't go on because it's finished. It goes on because it's
11:30.
Yeah.
Because which is it is like that kind of level of like, you like Saturday Night Live? Here's like a fucking bowl of Saturday Night Live. Yeah. Shoveling it in your mouth. And it's funny because the whole concept of the thing is it's Lorne Michaels 90 minutes before the first episode of Saturday Night.
Yeah.
And it's telling stories of what happened over the course of months in this 90 minutes.
Sure.
This is not what happened in 90 minutes.
Right.
And I know enough to know that that's not true, but it's a movie and whatever. It just might seem like too much for a lot of people. You're like, well, that didn't happen. And you're like, well, a lot of it did, but just not all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it, do you think a person who's not a huge SNL buff would like it?
I think so, because they do obviously tell you stuff like it's pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
But then there are these little like crumbs they'll give you, and I'm like, oh, that is so good. Yeah. Like they talk about like Tom Davis and Al Franken, former senator Al Franken, are in it as like, I swear to God, like Statler and Waldorf. Like they just like repeat each other's lines. They're walking around, yeah, okay. And they are practicing the Julia Childs sketch for episode 2, where Dan Aykroyd cuts himself and bleeds everywhere. Yeah. It's really funny, but they're practicing it, and he's like, it's pretty good. Maybe he goes, yeah, maybe next episode. And I'm like, very good. Thank you. Like there's little things like that where, and then there's moments where they have like a guy playing Billy Crystal who was supposed to be on the first episode and they cut him. And I'm like, I didn't know that.
Oh,
like,
wow.
So there's little moments like that where you still can learn a lot. I just think if you like SNL, you'll probably love it.
I'm going to watch it for sure. I think that's one that I'll wait for streaming on.
Yeah.
You went to the theater to see it?
I went to the theater.
You go to the theater more than like anyone I know, which is cool. That's a cool thing. It's cool.
You didn't say it like that.
No, it's very, very cool. Especially, I should say as well, you usually go alone.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. You're definitely not running from anything.
That's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. I do love going to the theater alone. I find it very relaxing.
I actually do like that as well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
I don't do it very often. I've got like things to do, people to send friend requests to.
And then keep checking on friend requests.
Friend requests. Yeah. Well, how am I going to know if they accept it?
Exactly.
Because I gotta boot up that Mario Party game like right away.
Actually, just 1 second. But yeah, how about you? Any movies?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of good movies lately.
All right.
I was thinking this year wasn't going to be great for movies, and then they're all kind of coming now.
Yeah.
I saw. I think I can't remember if you and I talked about this offline, but The Substance. Have you seen The Substance?
No, actually, I haven't yet.
The Substance was, I think, like one of the better movies I've seen in a long time. It's not Past Lives, which came out last year, and Past Lives is like, I only bring that up because like that movie was exceptional in a way that you just don't get very often, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is more of a body horror movie.
Yeah.
But does that 80s thing of like really going for metaphor with body horror, like trying to say something while being as gross as possible, but also being as sexy as possible.
Right.
Like it's Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I have to pretend like I don't know her name for reasons I'll get into in a little bit.
Spelling Q-U-A.
And I don't want to spoil too much because I think the way that the story unravels is it's fun to go along for the ride. But essentially, Demi Moore is trying to find a way to salvage her career as an aging woman in Hollywood.
Yes.
Which sounds like a story we've heard before, but the way that it's taken, a fictional story, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I
right.
should say
Absolutely.
And the way in which she tries to hold on to her youth, and her and Margaret Qualley's character kind of play off of one another. But there's a lot of nudity in it, a lot of sexuality, like hypersexuality. And ultimately, in a movie with body horror, I think often they don't land the plane. It goes like Akira or The Fly, which I know a lot of people like the endings of those, but it's like so out there that you really have to just suspend all disbelief and let it wash over you. The Substance definitely goes for it. I think it worked on me. I know a few people who have seen it who it didn't work on quite as much.
Yeah.
Either because they don't love the realism of body horror. One thing my girlfriend said was, she likes body horror. She likes like Cronenberg and a lot of those older movies. But back then it didn't look real. And now it is what we see as like photorealism. So like when things are getting cut into or needles and everything like that. So it can be very off-putting. But a couple days after we watched the movie, we bought it on Amazon Prime because that was the only way we can get it. It's, it sucks paying $25 to stream a movie, but it's also cheaper than going out to the theater. Which I recommend you do alone, by the way. It's very good.
I don't think you're allowed to bring somebody.
I don't know. No, not you.
No,
because everyone's got those like restraining orders against.
Yeah. Well, I have to watch him alone. Literally, the whole theater, just me.
I was going to say that's why you had to see juror number 2. You're like, where's the one place I can go that isn't 100 meters from anyone?
I'm going to find out later that wasn't a real movie.
It's your story of when you were a juror and got sentenced to be 100 meters away from everyone at all times. You're like, I think I've seen this before.
I think I committed this crime.
But a couple days afterwards, I'm upstairs. I'm working away like a dog, just working real hard and doing a good job at it too.
Classic dog stuff.
Classic
dog have an office job. I'm
barking at mailmen. I'm shitting and making someone else pick it up.
Humping legs.
Just a true HR nightmare I am. But I'm up in my office and my girlfriend gets back and she's having her lunch and I just hear from downstairs, hey, Mikey. I'm like, yeah. She's like, why does it say resume watching The Substance? And I was like, shit. Because I start to remember what I was doing a couple days earlier. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I could lie about this.
Yeah.
And instead I'm like, gotta level with you. I rewatched a couple scenes over again.
Like scenes at random? Did you just jump around?
So she presses play, and it's the one of the more sexual scenes of Margaret Qualley dancing in like some sort of not audition, but like filming a music video.
Right.
And she's like, "So you're into Margaret Qualley, eh?" I was like, "Is that her name?"
Yeah, I said it. Oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah. No,
I just like the lighting.
I'm into dance now. Actually,
super into dance.
Really into dance. And there was that split second in my head of like, I'm going to lie. I'm going to blame this on an Amazon glitch.
Yeah.
But if she pressed play, she would have known anyway. And
Amazon like, that's so weird. I just started in. I guess now that we're both here, we should probably watch it. A very interesting scene.
Yeah, so that was my experience with that. Also, I saw Strange Darling. Have you seen that one yet?
I have not seen Strange Darling. No.
Strange Darling is very good. And this is surprising because usually you're the one to tell me about movies.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot out right now.
There's a lot, and a lot of it is very good. And I think Strange Darling, I don't want to say anything about it. It's not like Barbarian, where like if you say something about it, it ruins it. But it's kind of a thriller, and I just think the beat by beat is really fun to be along for the ride on.
Yeah.
So it's just about a serial killer, and two people who are on a date, and it's just kind of that's the setting, which sounds super generic. But I think it takes away a lot of the expectation of it being more than it needs to be, and just is very good for what it is. And I highly recommend watching
nice.
that.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
Actually, speaking of, I don't want to date it too much, but I'm seeing Gladiator 2 tonight.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so I'll have more to say about that in a couple months.
What time?
6:25.
Oh, yeah. No, I think I mean, I was going to play some Mario Party, but I think I'm free. I think I'm free.
I'm so sorry. I bought every ticket to the theater. I had to.
You want to sell me one? I mean, if you bought them, you have them.
I don't think
I'll pay you double for one.
You pay me double?
I'll pay you double for it. And I'll sit in the other corner.
You and I in opposite corners. It's so funny.
Denzel's pretty good at this.
Shut up.
This is nothing like the first one.
We had a moment. So we should say all you, myself, and our player ones went on vacation together.
Players attorneys general.
Sorry, Matt Gates, attorneys general. Is on our flight back. We were flying back separately.
Yeah.
My player one and I we weren't seating together because it was the last nonstop flight from Paris that we were coming back from. And so we're sitting in kitty corner of this section together, right? And which was totally fine. I think we had spent more than enough time together and lived together. So it's like, what are we doing? We're missing each other.
That was the best part of the vacation.
Yeah. Except, of course, I sat next to the nicest, oldest woman who couldn't stop talking to me.
I hate that.
And I'm like clearly have my headphones in, and she's just like, just holding an iPad going, how does this work? And I'm like, yeah, let me try and find the Wi-Fi for you. Oh, you have to pay for it. She goes, well, I don't want to do that. I'm like, I am out of options. I don't know what to tell you, lady. But there was
like, will you pay for it?
Yeah, kind of like, I'm sure you have a credit card. I'm like, I do. Several, not to brag.
Do you have a Pornhub account?
I'm trying to watch Margaret Qualley scenes. But eventually, like 40 minutes into the flight, the pilot came back, and your eyes clock a person at the pilot.
Oh,
and Amelia like walking back, and I could just see my player one's head like a gopher, like, and she's like making eye contact with me, and I'm like, I don't know, and I'm like trying to like decipher the conversation the pilot's having with the guest back to my player one, like as a pinpoint. I'm like, I don't know, talking like I'm like doing hand signals, and I'm like, I don't know.
Were they setting up a Mario Party game or something?
Yeah, they were. He was paying back his debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a large bit of nothing, but it's the same thing. Of just
it's when you're up in the air, it's scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also George Clooney, also a Jason Reitman movie, just like Saturday Night.
Yeah. This was also he did Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
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 Whew.
I think so.
That was another one where my girlfriend was like, why does it say resume watching? And I was like, that Finn Wolfhard.
Dan Aykroyd getting a blowjob from a ghost.
Dan Aykroyd's ghost. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, that movie. Yeah. So I gotta watch Substance. I know
The Substance is really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I got a few things to watch,
and I think in the running for movie of the year. See, I'm not as good with you at keeping track of what I've seen. And you When I said I'm not as good at, you perked up. You couldn't wait to hear what I had to say.
I'm not as good as you at being like a fucking loser.
I'm not as good as you at anticipating compliments.
Yeah, so because Wicked comes out this weekend too, which I think they also missed a real big boat of not doing a Barbenheimer Gladiator Wicked thing. But
that would feel like Barbenheimer order from Wish.com. Like that doesn't feel like enough of a thing.
It's insane to me though that we're like the Robert Oppenheimer biopic and biopic. Fuck, I keep doing that biopic.
Yeah, it's okay.
And Barbie, they're like, that seems like the best combination of things we could have done. Instead of like Gladiator 2, a franchise we all know, and Wicked, one of the more successful musicals of the last, 30 years. And it's like, that feels like opposite crowds, right?
But I mean, also Barbenheimer feels like opposite crowds.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Even more so.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just saying, where Wicked, I cannot wait to not see that for a couple of weeks because the people that will show up for the first couple of weeks are going to be loons.
Oh, you don't like musical theater tryhards?
No.
Sorry,
being one myself, I hate them. Yeah, and there's like sing along screenings and stuff like that. Can you imagine accidentally buying a ticket to that one and showing up and it's like, why is everyone singing?
Speaking of musical theater tryhards, and being Anne Hathaway, she was in Interstellar, and I rewatched that recently because I was notoriously like, I think we even talked about our favorite Nolan movies on the Patreon or something like that.
Yeah,
and you
had Oppenheimer last.
It was, I think it was last, honestly.
Yeah, you did.
I think Interstellar may have been second last.
I think it was last for me.
And I rewatched it. I think it's a great movie.
Okay.
I do. I really came around on it. The things that kind of bugged me about it with like the attempted visualization of something that I've been reading about in science fiction forever. Yeah. And the fact that, it's similar to Inception, where they're like, the concept is fucking crazy. And it's like, it's cool that it's represented visually in movies, but the concept isn't like that far-fetched.
Yeah.
Same with Interstellar. But rewatching it and knowing that bummed me out the first time and just taking it for what it was, I thought it was really good.
Oh, wow.
Really
I got to rewatch it because Inception, I think, is the opposite. Where I never want to watch it again because I fear that I'd be like, ugh.
I've heard a lot of people who have rewatched it and it's just not for them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, there's a horrible like TikTok community online of like movie bros where they're like, what's your favorite movies of all time? Like, well, Inception. And
Yeah.
Yeah, this probably isn't going to go well for me then. Whatever.
And my favorite TV show is Rick and Morty. And like both of those things are good. I just don't like when you make them your favorite. It
100%.
says a lot about you.
Well, this is like Mikey and I are both into combat sports. We like boxing and MMA.
Yeah.
And, but every time somebody else goes, oh, you like that? And I'm like,
not in the same way you do.
I don't want to talk to you about that.
I like it, but I usually don't go to bars when it's playing because I don't like the crowds that it draws.
No, seriously.
And I'm a little scaredy cat.
Yeah. Well, I just hate the way they treated Mike Tyson. But yeah, showed his butt on screen and everything.
That was so funny.
That was the funniest fucking thing. Does any part of you, of all the conspiracy theories that are happening because of that fight and like it's rigged and pull punches, do you think the biggest conspiracy theory is Netflix intentionally showed his butt to get more attention?
I would like to believe that. I would rather just believe that Mike Tyson is just the most lovably airheaded guy at some points. Yeah. It is weird though that he's become this lovable figure after I was
just gonna say it is weird. He's so painfully honest.
Yeah.
So I think there is a part of that warms people over, being a convicted rapist and all.
That's the thing.
And done a lot of bad stuff in his life. But I did love that like we all become that man. We all become eventually 60 years old. Walks around the locker room, ass out, blow drying your genitalia,
fighting with 27-year-olds on live TV.
I don't like you. You got tattoos and it scares me. I'm going to try and punch you.
Well, he's got a pretty scary tattoo himself.
Yeah, it's funny how much that has been, like when he first got his face
it was the
tattooed,
biggest news in the world.
It was like, oh my God, this lunatic has tattooed his face. This is the craziest thing you could do.
Yeah.
And now you don't really notice it when you look at him anymore. You're like,
well, he influenced the likes of Post Malone.
Yes, absolutely.
Tekashi 6ix9ine.
I'm sure Machine Gun Kelly has them.
Tekashi Predator. Chris Hansen.
Oh, Chris Hansen's full of face tattoos.
Yeah. Glenn Hansard.
Glenn Hansard, who is from Once?
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
This is just sound alike for.
Hey, that's a real person,
wanted
right?
us to come back.
People wanted this.
People wanted this.
Anything else you want to talk about? You're reading a book. Is it any good? You want to talk about?
You know what?
Book?
Actually, so I talked about going on this a string of book reading because I wanted to get more Disco Elysium in my life. I've got a canvas from. I don't know if I can get that on video without messing up the feed.
Oh yeah, let's not.
It's a canvas from Disco Elysium, with your protagonist riding or jumping on the back of a giant horse statue. But like
spoiler.
No.
Okay.
No. There's almost no way to spoil that game. But I love the story of Disco Elysium.
Yeah.
I love the aesthetic of it. I love the tone of it. So I was looking up books that are like that, and I read a couple of them. I've talked about that on the book, on this podcast, and I've just kind of been staying down that tread of like this author China Mieville, who did The City in the City, which is the first that I read. And I just finished, I'd read The Scar a long time ago, and I just finished Perdido Street Station, which is like known as one of his best ones, if not his best one. And I'm just really loving almost living in the tone of Disco Elysium without having to replay the game or without getting to replay the game. And I found that great. I also read a book called Roadside Picnic, which was and I'm going to tie this all back to video games, was the book that the movie Stalker was based off of. And then the game Stalker was based on that movie. So when I was reading the book, I'm like, I recognize a lot of these themes and the things that they're talking about, and which is great because Stalker 2 literally just came out yesterday as of this record. I've just downloaded it. So that, if we're talking, I'll leave off with this in terms of like what I'm going to be doing for the next little bit. Once I finish, I think Return of the Golden Idol, I'm going to go straight into Stalker, and I think that's going to see me through in the new year because I'm ecstatic about the idea of playing that game. It looks very good. Well,
that's great. We, obviously, like you said, where we're going to leave off and what we're going to do in the future here, we can't really tell you. We don't know when we're going to be coming back, but we know we'll definitely be doing a New Year's Eve Power Hour.
Very excited for that.
Very excited for that. So we will try and record that as close to New Year's Eve as possible so that we can be more up to date with what's going on. But we definitely will have that. Will we have something in the future between that? I don't know. But, in the meantime, if you're downloading these and you kept the channel alive and stuff like that, the feed alive, we really appreciate it. It means a lot. And we're really excited to be coming back.
Yeah, what I'll say is one thing that we can always do is jump on and answer some listener questions.
Oh, yeah.
So I know you're not as actively listening week to week, but a lot of people have been telling me that they're going back and listening to our back catalog. I'm sure you have a lot of questions about our intentions and why. So send us to the retrogradepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll start to unravel those. And even if we don't get to another episode before the New Year's Eve countdown, the Century Club, maybe we'll incorporate some of those into the festivities.
Absolutely. But you know what? We love you and we miss all of you so very much. So please, reach out because we'd love to be talking to you soon. So we love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name is Andrew Baskin, and with me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over. Now, if you could check your Switch just real quick. I think it's charged now.
I don't think I've ever owned a Switch.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Boy, do we put out.